I enjoy the sun, so I'm staying as much as possible in the sun because it gives me a proper immune system. But more than anything else, it's given me the farm as well. Welcome. This is the Wairarapa Eco Farm, and we're always pleased with a bit of interest. Murray said that you were very keen and interested, so I'm expecting lots of questions. But before we get to the questions, I'd like to introduce the farm and ourselves a little bit. We're from the Netherlands, and we sort of escaped the Netherlands looking for, to keep it very short, a greener future. So we ended up in New Zealand, and we created a greener future behind you. There's a story behind that, because most tourists would say that's a green future as well. I'm a little bit disappointed in this, although I have to admit that when we were here, you see all those things sticking up? Yeah, they weren't there yet. Now they make they have enhanced the landscape a little bit. The long and short of it is, when we came here, the attitude in New Zealand, the Western attitude, I should admit, was the only good tree is a dead tree. So this was all what we started to call a pastoral desert. So it's not like exactly like a desert, but it's monotonous, and when you look at that, it creates a feeling inside of you. Yeah, and when you look at that, it creates a different feeling inside of you. Can you
Oh, yes.
can you dig that? You can. Right. Shall I show you? I can show you what it does to living creatures, being in there or being out here. So I got one living creature here. It's got a funny name. Venus Pinea. Does anybody recognize this? I know it's a tree. I really know it's a tree, but does anybody recognize this tree? It is a type of pine tree. Very, very good.
Looks like Pinus contortus.
No, it's Pinus, as you say it, Pinea. Yeah. That is Pinus radiata. This is the Italian pine nut tree. You know pine nuts? Yeah. It's that expensive stuff that they put into pestos and you put it on your food. Yeah. So you look at this tree and see how it's growing.
And it's contorted, like he said.
It's a joke. I'm nervous. Thank you. So you see, it's growing. So if you look at that tree, would you say there's something wrong with it?
And it's growing away from the other pine.
Yeah, that's true. It's looking for the light, but you can't really say it's dying or anything, because look at the fresh growth it has. It's definitely looking for. I agree with you. It's struggling a little bit. Actually, it's struggling quite a lot. So you've noticed that, but there's people looking at this and would say they would just walk past and say it's growing, so it's fine. Yeah. Now, if we walk, and I suggest we take a deep breath before we go into the gate and walk quietly. You follow me, and I'll stand still by the next stuff we talk about, which will be two things. So, welcome to the property. welcome on the inside. Is there somebody that can explain the different feeling between here and over there? Besides Charlie?
They're just two totally different. I suppose that's, you know, like one is, that's for cropping, they're growing hay, so they're just totally different. This is serene and green, and that's
Exposed.
yeah.
You feel
But it
it?
still has a purpose.
Yeah, no. I'm not disqualifying that. It's, every landscape can be justified.
It's the feeling
It's the feeling of
the Maori.
life and living is different than over there. Over there, you feel somewhat exposed, and that goes to the heart of what we're trying to do here. Now, this fella here is still a youngster as well, but it's also a Pinus pinea, and it was planted at the same day as the Pinus pinea over there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Thriving.
So you were right. That one, it's not dying, it's far from dying, but it's not thriving either. This one's thriving. Yeah. Now, those creatures, those living units, are expressing the difference between inside and outside. So you're right, you can grow different things out there. Yeah. The different things tend to be grass and meat. Yeah. Which makes a contribution to our society. Not ignoring that. But if you live in New Zealand and you've traveled around in New Zealand, this feeling that we have here, which you find in the forest as well, is by far in the minority. And the result is that our food supply is a little bit limited, because all that what that delivers is meat, ruminant meat. But for us to have a healthy diet, we need vegetable material. If I would grow any form of cabbage, brassica, kumara, taro out there, it would not thrive. Just like this fellow is thriving in here, that fellow is not thriving in here. The veggies would. Now behind you, that's the community garden, and I would love to focus on that, but and here's a bit of history. So that grew food for 200 families, and a little bit of other areas as well. But the main vegetables, the main annuals, came off that area. That's an area that can be maintained by 3 or 4 people, depending on the work ethic. I would recommend you do it with 4 or 5 people, and then you have a bit of a life as well. And that's important. But that feeds 200 families in vegetables. Yeah, and that's a small part of the farm. Out there, the vegetables won't grow. We're still in an environment that's short of rainfall in summer, so in summer we have to irrigate that. But it's because the inside that the vegetables grow. Now, the inside is a descriptive way of explaining what all these living entities are doing together. Yeah, there's a whole lot of living entities out there, but in short, what's out there is more of the same. Grass and grass and grass and grass and clover, and grass and grass and clover. Now, soon as you start identifying the individuals here, you find there's a lot of individuals, a lot of different individuals, but only some are the same, and there's groups that are the same. It's like in a community, you've got groups of people responsible for different things. That's what makes a community, that's what used to make a community work. Different people with different experiences and different skill sets. So what you see around you are different people with different experiences and different skill sets. What do? They work together to buffer. You guys know what buffer is?
Yeah.
Yeah. To buffer or level the extremes of the environment. When I say the extremes of the environment, that's a rather vague term. Most of you will probably know, but there's 4 key examples. Anybody wants to have a go at it? Huh? Water. So water, these individuals and groups working together, they hold the water for much longer than out there. Out there dries out a lot quicker. So summer has a bigger impact out there than summer here. So to go quickly through it, it moderates the water, it moderates the wind or the air, which is important because the wind can be pretty severe here. And you have a day of wind, and the garden and the market garden would be exposed to that day of wind. It sucks all the moisture out of the plants, and they would not thrive. No amount of water that I put on a day before is going to make the difference. Well, it will make a difference, but this is a hell of a lot easier. I still said hell. I was going to tone down.
You can say hell, Frank.
Yeah, I was going to use the other word. So water, but also sun, my friend, or warmth. Actually, it's the light and the warmth that is really important. Yep. And what's number 4?
Soil.
Thank you. So that's food, and which is represented as soil. Yeah. But so that's all buffered here. Out there, they all turn into extremes and doesn't cause a thriving situation for what we call our domesticated crops and animals. Because our domesticated crops and animals have grown up in an environment that is buffered by humans and human culture. So that's why they're called domesticated. And the buffer is there to make us comfortable as well. So it's a mutualistic understanding of living. And that's the essence of farming in a way. So, yeah, I'll take a break there. If you guys have any questions or I'm going too fast, then you better let me know. But that's basically, that sets the tone for what we have done. And we drove around New Zealand and we saw a lot of that. And then we went to the New Zealand forest and rainforest, and we thought that was bloody great. But it also was bloody quiet. It's really quiet. And then they tell you about the dawn chorus.
Yeah, too many predators.
Yeah, whatever. Something's wrong. Anyway, land use in New Zealand has more potential, can be far more expressive than what's currently out there. And regretfully, it's a community job because the limits we run up into here in developing this property was not nature not producing enough, because we quickly discovered that when you create the buffer, when you invite life, this is important. Can you see this is an invitation to life for anything that lives out there? Yeah, so you have a family, you're a rabbit, you live out there, you have 12 youngsters, and the food is getting scarce where you live, and you say to your 12 youngsters, piss off, this is my area because I want to raise another family. Where are they going to go?
Yeah.
Where are they going to go? Yeah. And what about the possums?
Oh, yeah.
And what about the hare?
Everyone wants
And what
to
about
know.
the white butterfly?
Yeah.
And what about aphids and potato?
Yeah.
Yeah.
flies.
So we're a magnet for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been here?
26?
The first time or the second time or the...
Why did you stay?
Why did I stay? Just because I said, this, between my friend the sun and my friend the earth, there's a living space that in which we are aided to create heaven on earth. And for one reason or another, we felt limited. We felt compromised to do that in the Netherlands, and we ended up here. And I still praise the day that we did it. Now I can go into the details of why we ended up in New Zealand, but that's another story altogether. But that's just the beginning of the story, because we never wanted to do this as Josia and Frank. We always knew that if you take this on, guiding life into an abundance, if you take that on, you create responsibility towards the landscape. Yeah, and if you create responsibility towards the landscape will reward you with products. Now the landscape has rewarded us with products, but there's far too much for Josia and Frank to trade. We can't do it all. And so we've started up something. Now it's coming to fruition, and the potential is showing off. But now we need to turn that potential into trade so that we can employ more and more people. And here's the kicker. We've tried to employ people for years and years and years, but nobody really could understand what we were doing and why we were doing it, and they always needed more and more guidance, and they were always very enthusiastic about it, but they could never see the abundance that was unfolding around them. Now Josia and I can, but I have to talk and talk and talk, even to people that are interested, to show them what is there. But I'm not going to do it because we have limited amount of time, but in 20 minutes to an hour's time, I can show you 15 potential jobs that are here that could provide you with a trade, that could provide you with an income. Now, I'm not promising a career like it's pretended out there, because those career opportunities create friction in the fabric of life. Let's call it that. That will do for that. This is growing. These jobs here will grow the fabric of life, and it will make sure that that little bugger here can carry on doing what we were doing and enjoy it as well. Hey, you're losing interest. Come, stay with it. Stay with it.
It's your first
I'm doing this for you, mate. Remember. All right, any questions?
Frank, we're descendants of the ordinary people that were here 200 plus years ago.
Bless you.
Now at that time, this whole area was deeply, heavily forested. And there was such deafening sounds in the forest at that time. So I just want to go back to, take a step back for a moment to the beginning, and I wonder if my nephew, you can lead us in the karakia before we just a moment.
Kia ora tātou. Just take time to come to your breath. Just notice as you breathe in and then notice as you breathe out. Maybe you can start to hear the sounds of life that surround you, the warmth of the air, the sound of the animals, the whisper of the wind, the feeling of the earth beneath your feet. Just take some time to breathe in and to breathe out. Tēnei au, ko te hokai nei o taku tapu wai. Ko te hokai nuku, ko te hokai rangi, ko te hokai nei o tō tukuna atu mātaui. Taku tapu wai, ko taku tapu wai nui nā tāne nui arangi. I pikitia ai te rangi tūhāhā te tihi o mana. I roko hina atu rā koi o te matua kore ana. Kāre rui hoko ngā kete o te wānanga, ko te kete tua uri, ko te kete tua tea, ko te kete arana. Kā tiri a ka pou a ki papatuku, ki papatua nuku ka puta teira tangata ki te whai iau ki te ao marama. Whano, haramai te toki, hau e, hui e, tai. Kia ora, uncle.
Thank you. Right, what can you say after that?
We're good to go.
We're good to go. So, I can't really show you a lot of the things that create the money at the moment, because a lot of the things that create the money and would allow this community to grow any further are in a time of change. The farm is going into a change period because I had to create room for my youngsters who felt obligated to work here. So I had to force the change, which now means that the gardens are sort of, they're not neglected, but from a commercial perspective, they lack certain actions. However, it doesn't change the fact that the community that is created, and when I talk about community, I talk about all living entities on this property. So it's rather sad to notice that out there, we started to treat people more and more, and it's speeding up really rapidly. But we start treating people like animals. I think most people will notice that. I can underpin that with science and social aspects as well, but I'll keep it brief. We start treating people more like animals. We start to treat animals more like plants. And we start treating plants more like soil. And in fact, the soil is being treated like dirt. There's a gross disrespect for life and living in our outside world out there. We have to change on the inside and find self-esteem so that we can fight back. Because what is intended to be is an evolution, not a devolution. The soil is not dirt, it's full of life. In fact, it's the essence and the beginning of every life on this planet. And it shows it quite clearly by the microbes and the fungi. Because the microbes and the fungi are the basis for growth and immunity in the soil, but they're also the basis of growth and immunity in the plants. The microbes are also the basis of growth and immunity in animals, and they're also the basis of growth and immunity in people. Those microbes are not individuals, they are communities. And in me, there's a different community than in you. And in my brother behind me, he's got a different community as well. That's what individuality is about. It's created by the microbes that grow this body or that body. But we're all related that way. That's a very brief description. Expand on that comes to, yes, you have to come back for that.
So Frank, you're saying then to hold on to the divine nature of everything?
I'm saying that all life deserves respect. Not just Black Lives Matter. All life deserves respect. From the littlest creature, and the reality is, we live by the grace of those little creatures. They are the first creative living force of this planet. They actually created us from soil. And we go back into the soil so that the next potential can rise up and express itself again by the virtue of those microbes. I can talk for hours about that, but I would like to show you the rest of the farm as well. But it's the respect for life and living. It's the invitation we have created by our inner world and the expression of our inner world out here. Yeah. Does that come across even a little bit? Because you always go to a farm and the farmer starts to talk about the technology and the tractor and this and that and the inputs that are being provided. It's a bit of a shame because the farmer has been lulled into some form of security by his education and the representatives that come there to push products. And if you're on the outside, you can easily see that if you know about it. But farmers, they used to think for themselves and interacted with nature and guided nature towards a common future. What's happened over the past 40, 50 years, very rapidly, is that the farmers stopped thinking and accepted recipes from the sales rep. Now, the consequence of that is that he can raise his family and can send his family to school, which is the main importance to him. Yeah, but a farmer's income hasn't risen since the Second World War. The only way the farmers can keep on farming is to do more farming, bigger areas of farming. There are some advantages of scale in there, different story, but the main thing is, by him buying the inputs and the technology from the sales reps, he doesn't make himself richer. He just scuffles along and raises a family. But the people that make those products and sell those products, they have created an upward flow, and all the money out of rural areas is going into that direction. And you can see it in New Zealand as well. Rural areas are being hollowed out. It's the same thing happened to you guys. It's a repeat. And it's an inner life in those creatures that doesn't connect with nature, and we have to go back to that inner life that connects with nature. Raising him, you need soil. Just think about this. most of us go to the supermarket and that stuff comes from everywhere around the world. It's incredible. It's, in a way, it's a miracle, yeah? But is it a good miracle? So, no, but you have a choice. You have a choice because that creature that was just here, yeah? Take this in. 18 months ago, this was it. My soil has grown that creature. And my inner life will hopefully make sure that his expression later on becomes an expression of independence and joy. So that's why, take an example of the man. He makes the first thing he does on this property, he makes a joke. He makes a joke about life and living. That's the true miracle. All right, so we've raised 100 families over the last 15 years. I've seen kids growing up like that, yeah. It allowed us to do this because these critters growing up, they need diversity. Yeah, and this soil needs diversity. While if you feed into the supermarket, you have to grow 20,000 broccolis a week, and the next week again, 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 else you'll lose your market. There is a theory of sustainability and there is the action of sustainability. The action of sustainability or of green, this is an expression of the action of sustainability. Now, that action is actually rather joyful and pleasurable, and you can sense it when you walk in. You can sense it. Who doesn't want to be in full awareness? Who doesn't want to be and spend time here in full awareness? What makes it rather hard is that the national and international infrastructure out there is not built on the principle of strength in diversity and strength in cooperation, because that's what this is. I'm not poisoning my body by putting stuff in there that's destructive to my microbes, because I know it's me. Those people don't even know they have microbes, but that's a sad reality. Let's not go there. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. The train of thought is that we move on and I'll show you diversity. So while we walk, it doesn't make a lot of sense to start naming everything, but I can point out that we have different ways of growing growing plants that we can trade, and that's the communal garden, which has a focus, which used to have a focus on vegetables, but it's now being changed into vegetable-like perennials. The advantage is that we can still eat them, but we don't have to put in the same work rate. Western agriculture is based on annual cropping or annual vegetables. Silly concept in a way, because if you do perennials, you cut, eat, and come back a couple of months later and you cut and eat again. Who made that call to go for annuals? I don't know, but maybe there's something special about annuals. I do know, I can answer. No, let's move on. Sorry, Murray. So if anybody's interested in listening more to this sort of, that's not philosophy. We do workshops, we do courses, and we're actually at the moment offering apprenticeships as well. So if I haven't bored you to death after today and you want to come back for more, you're more than welcome. So the annuals, we complement our diet with fruits and nuts as well. Now there's a lot of different ways that we have incorporated fruits and nuts and also timbers for structure. But on this side, if you want to know more about it, we'll have to do that some other time. That's an integration of fruit crops with annuals and berries.
That's all right. Moon garden.
So I'll take you there a little bit later, but that's the initial herb garden. So with planting different size and different groups of plants, we've created a climate within the climate. So you have a macroclimate out there, but by taking away the extremes, by buffering, which we've done with other living creatures, trees and shrubs and stuff like that, we now have a microclimate here, taking away the extremes. And this particular area here is one of the areas that is frost-free it's frost-free most of the time. Once in every 10 years we probably have a bit of frost. Okay, so
Is it good for tamarillos?
so those are tamarillos. So there's quite a few subtropical plants in there. There's an avocado over there. There's 3 avocados, but that one's the main visible one. The other thing is my oldest daughter uses this to increase her herb production. She's got a herb garden over there where she raises plants, and she's now planting them out so that she can make use the healing capacities of the plant on creatures that are being hurt by the harshness of the environment. That's cool. Did you capture that? Okay, I'm going to keep that one. Yeah, so in here there's probably 30-odd different plants. So there's 30-odd different characters which add different value to my soil, but also different value to the people that are using them. It goes from, really people, it goes from strength to strength. But we need to reuse how to use our plants and animals. Now, my biggest job is to educate people about the loss of diversity. My job therefore is to create more and more diversity. What are we losing in diversity? This is the scary bit because nobody talks about it. Everybody talks about extinctions, yeah? Everybody talks about extinctions, but what's going extinct? What is going extinct are the domesticated plants and animals that have been with our cultures globally for years. The Amazonian people's domesticated plants and animals are being prioritized. The Western domesticated plants and animals are going extinct. So if you travel from, come back for that one if you're interested in that. So what I'm doing here is showing the purpose of these plants and also some of these animals. I started with growing soil because I was trained as growing soil. I was bloody lucky because I was really interested in soil, and I discovered that the microbes in the soil are the secret to all life on the planet. And because of that, and by growing soil, I invited all the other creatures to come and live here. That's all that happened. Yeah. Now, a farmer does that automatically, but current farming means that you, by the actions you take to do farming, you actually inflict wounds on the populations, on the creatures, on the creativity that you've invited. You inflict wounds by pesticides, herbicide, by too much activity. And if you work on your soil and you appreciate your soil and you know that your soil is going to build up everything else, and you don't inflict any wounds on them, then it's an invitation that keeps on giving. Now I have to show to other people how to accept those gifts and turn that into an extension of our community. Slow down. So there's about 40 different characters and individuals in here that can teach you. I've been highlighting the positive side of this being an invitation, and all life will come here, and we welcome it. We welcome the creatures that contribute to community building and are not just here to reap the harvest, literally. Yeah, so we welcome those critters that are part of building the community. That includes people. So this is the invitation for you guys to come and join us later on. However, so to just point that out in an example, this is a berry block, and in the berry block we got 15 different types of berries, from currants to Thai berries to raspberries and blackberries. Yeah. So when it was in its glory days, it was covered with a netting. You know why? Because the invitation was too tempting. as well as birds. So we have a rule. You are more than welcome to join our community and come and live here. Your size doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But if you and your friends are taking more than 20% of the trade, then the rest of the co-op is going to push you back out again, because we need it to keep and maintain our own strength and resilience. So the birds that went for the berries were being managed by giving it a barrier. Yeah? And then when we noticed that they were taking more than 20%. And there are other berry plants and everything else spread out over the property. So we sustain quite a big population of blackbirds, but we do not want an infestation of blackbirds because it upsets the balance. That's the brief. Yeah. Any questions? So there's another example of that, which I'll come to in a minute. You will notice that we don't have real what the Westerners call paved paths and stuff. Have you noticed? Yeah, but we do have paths. You also, and you notice that there is a track, and you notice that the track has a soft edge, which is really unusual. That's very un-English. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Okay. How do you create something like that? Look at this. Look at these soft edges.
You've got a good gardener.
No, I got help with gardening. Good help.
You
with
can
gardening.
sometimes smell it.
Any questions? Well, that's what the story was about. I was telling you the story so that you would ask me questions.
I just opened the window all the way up as far as I could. Kind of because it might be hot in there.
Is it too hot?
But I agree. It's only a worthwhile question if you like soft edges in the garden, and not everybody does.
Could be hot.
Okay, so this used to be our main production unit for in summer tomatoes and peppers and aubergines and cucumbers and stuff. And since we moved on into more growing people and making that transition, we're creating a subtropical food forest, exposing people to domesticated plants that would go extinct if we didn't look after them. So in here at the moment I would say, and most of them are slightly hidden because they're youngsters, but there's about 40 different fruits and veggies in here. And we got typical things like pineapple, Okinawa spinach, what's that spinach called again? And peppers, sugarcane, tree tomatoes, bananas, thank you, pawpaw, barbecue. If you come back in 2 years' time, you won't recognize it because there will be more height in it. But so see that bunch of bananas. So that in 6 weeks will be ready. So we had one cluster already. At the moment, I'm fighting my disappointment with the extreme weather out there because it ripped my roof. But that's part of the game.
Isn't it a nightshade? Part of the nightshade family?
It's Rugmansia. Or Datura. That's the old name.
Related. It might be, this might be the thing, might work related anyway. Yeah. You can sort of...
That's the flower. You never seen that?
Oh, not the far
Yeah. Oh, wow. 15 years ago, 20 odd years ago, we had that green. That's one interaction, eh? To make that plant, you've got 46 nutrients, calcium, magnesium, sodium, and everything else. And the plant has to take that out of the soil, and then it has to go to the cell that needs it. Yeah, 46. But then it has to be transported and there. So imagine the organization that is required for those 46 to get in the millions of cells in the plant on the right time, and in the right time frame, and right without confusion and anything else. You can't have.
It's a complex network.
It's instant communication, constantly happening there. And and imagine this, who's slam in the middle? The microbes and the fungi. They have that job. The miracle of life, the breath of God, is the microbial community and the fungi in Right, carry on. You sit down and think about that for a while. Because there's no boss. The lead lady is walking up the front.
Is she with
She would be
the
Minnie.
mare?
And is this all the chickens in there?
Yeah, those are the chickens. And normally the pigs are in there. Did you guys see the pigs? No, no, we didn't.
I thought I smelt them.
Yeah, no, they are smellable.
So you have to go around gathering up eggs.
Yeah, it took you long enough.
Where's the baby?
As a punishment, I'm not opening the gate.
Good morning. What breed is this?
He's a cross.
Yeah, big hooves.
Oh, you come to me.
Yeah, because he knows
Yeah.
that he can hug you.
And here's the mare. Are they two mares?
You're familiar with horses?
Oh, actually.
Are you familiar with horses?
Take a liking to you, boy.
So because this horse likes to play with people.
Does he? How does he
Hey
play?
Charlie, you want to play with Tico? Not really. He wants to play with you. Ask Charlie.
Does he bite you?
Not really.
No, but he's still a baby. He's 3 years old, and when he was younger, anytime when he's uncertain, he goes out with a nibble and then runs off, and because the mouth is things, the sucking reflex is sort of, but it's getting less and less. But this new situation will make him a bit edgy, so I'm just making sure that he bites me and nobody else. Nibbles me. He's not really biting.
When was the new one born?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. You don't trust it, matey. You don't trust it. People are unpredictable, aren't they? Yeah, girl. You got that right. Animals are unpredictable as well. It's a bad combination. It's a bad combination. So just more of the same. This is the greenhouse very quickly. The last end of the greenhouse we use to propagate our stuff. And that's, we propagate pretty much everything. And you could actually say most of the plants and animals we've grown here are born and raised here. So we sow seed and we make cuttings and everything else. And in the cold days they are being grown up in here, and then they go over there and hardened off. And at the front we're starting to create a nursery where people can buy plants to grow and create their own paradise. And I'm blatantly going to call it paradise. And but you end up getting what you deserve. So I just said somebody, the horses are your best teachers. For me at the moment it's very current, because that's where my personal growth is in trying to come to terms with domesticated animals. But before that I came to terms with domesticated plants, and before that I came to terms with domesticated soil. I shared you that. But it's not the horse that is the best teacher, it's the domesticated soil that is the best teacher. And if you buy entities that you plant in the soil, whatever it is, and they're not thriving, then there is something. That's the lesson. That's the interaction. That's the communication is nothing mystical, and miracles are nothing mystical. It's us not seeing what's there. It's the science that has not been proven yet or validated yet. So when I say you get what you, what did I say? You get what you deserve. That's the lesson. It shows you if your inner world is in touch with your outer world. And if your inner world is in touch with your outer world, then you truly create heaven on earth. This is very far-reaching, though. Next stop. So, I was talking about invitation, but it does mean that we have to do certain things to enhance the buffer as well. One of the things is water and spreading water. So we have limited amount of water in summer, so we have to top it up. But before we top it up, we recycle our water. Yeah, and all the water that's being used in the house is what they call grey water, because we don't have a flushing toilet. So that other stuff that normally goes into the toilet, we turn into soil in a different way, but that gets turned into soil as well. But the grey water ends up in what we call a biological filter, and the biological filter is nothing else than a bunch of swamp plants that we've clustered together, and the swamp plants are working together with a community of microbes, which are different than the community of microbes outside the swamp plants, and they're taking out all the enrichment of the water that we have created by showering and everything else, and then it comes out clean. And we test it by checking if the fish are okay. And we do a number of other things with it, but that's the short version. So that water is irrigation water, which makes sure that our invitation to come and live here is based in reality. You need water to live. And we're now entering the loud part of the farm. I'm gonna coach you behind my farm workers, and I'll give you an explanation about the farm workers.
Oh, the dog.
So just remain calm. There's a real dog on the Hang on, Marie, I've just been Okay, you calm down, okay? It's fine. Come this way, come this way. Come this way. Good girl, Izzy. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl.
More puppies.
Good girl.
Another.
Oh, wow.
I was here last time when the other one was this big.
I knew I recognise you.
She's so strong.
So we were earlier on, we were talking about this being an open invitation for critters to come here. Yeah. So initially, that was a real issue, because they were robbing our food, and it's the rabbits, it's the possums, it's the what are those? Huh? No, yeah, the geckos. Geckos. They're quite disruptive. So we had a dog. We had two dogs, and they were hunting rabbits every now and then, but they couldn't keep control of it, and they didn't really see it as their job. But it turns out that in human history we have developed different types of dogs, And there's a group of dogs called livestock guardian dogs that that guard animals or people as such. And I started digging into that. This is part of my job. I'm supposed to save domesticated plants and animals from extinction. So, and we ended up looking for livestock guardian dogs and wanted to trial them if they would work out here. Yeah. And to cut a long story short, we got some and we did some research on their impact, and turns out they're saving us $1,500 a month of less damage. And that doesn't mean we don't have any rabbits. We do. It doesn't mean we don't have any possums. We do. But the rabbits and possums or any other critter that's not from here, and they recognize them. I can explain you how. Another story involves the microbes some other time. They recognize them and they make them feel uncomfortable just by peeing and pooing and barking. There's very little aggression involved, except when there's overpopulation, then they start eating. All right? And that was absolutely critical or crucial to our success, because that meant we had a decent harvest, creating enough money to live independently. And living independently is a simple terminology, but that's the critical part of living in paradise.
What's the dog breed?
It's called a Maremma. And there's different types of livestock guardian dogs. Not all of them are in New Zealand, but they're getting very popular in other. Yeah, they're being rediscovered. And there's that. Don't go out and buy a Maremma sheep before studying up on Maremma sheep, because it's the polar opposite of any normal pet dog. All right? And people get pet dogs as surrogate babies. This is not a surrogate baby. I'm painting the picture very black and white. There's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with it, and a certain amount of internal development that comes with it. You have to grow up first before you can raise these critters.
So these pups instinctively know their job?
Virtually, yes. Yeah. It helps a lot if they have examples in the form of humans or in the form of parents. It helps a lot. So as a first-time owner, I would go somewhere to where he's being used in a similar fashion as you would like to use it. Yeah. But they're livestock guardian dogs. You can send them with a herd of. So you want to know more about this?
Well,
so,
I need a puppy.
No, you don't need a puppy. you need food, water, shelter, and what's the other one? And air. That's what you need. Yeah, you want a puppy.
Rabbits.
Yeah. Ah, right. Now it becomes functional.
There's a purpose.
So the roots of this breed is in Italy. And this was farming in wild country, mountainous country, and they had to leave the sheep behind for months and months, and the people would go back to town and live their life, and the dogs would protect the sheep from prey animals, and then the people would return and they all would go to town and they got shorn and butchered.
My son,
they just fend for themselves all that whole duration.
So they're independent and have to make decisions by themselves.
Wow.
So if you raise them as a pet, you ruin them for life.
Yeah.
Oh, sounds like your children.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
because you have to raise them so that they have an independent mind and thinking. I would like to think you raise the kids the same way, because if they can do that, they can create heaven on earth.
Yeah, lucky I'm not that way.
don't notice any
So,
dogs.
so I'm not sure how your paradise is going to look like, because those things tend to be individual. I just hope it doesn't look like a building site like ours. So
This is industrious. I like it.
yes, there's a certain amount of work ethic that comes with it, and you can judge it two ways. There's a lot happening, or there's not enough happening.
Hurry, bye.
Yeah, at the same time as well. All right. The potential, the pretense here, the turning matter into reality here is we're creating a small community to support the activity on the farm and harvest the abundance and create jobs that way. So there's going to be a couple of a cluster of tiny houses for people that see an opportunity in that, and that's going to be over there. And this is the camping ground, or the camping area, and this is here for people that stay here temporarily doing just relaxing or partaking in our internships and apprenticeships. Like I said, the site's still under development. We're going to have to create more water to make the invitation have certain amount of reality, and we have to create a bit more accommodation, extend the kitchen a little bit, and we do that by building with the resources we have grown on the property. And that could be part of the people's learning experience as well. So I think I made it pretty obvious that most of the exercise is a learn by doing. So Josh and I have an academic background, and we are very blessed with that. It means we don't make the obvious mistakes. But as far as that goes, the practicalities of it come by doing it. And keep running towards the future, saying, I don't know enough, I need to learn more, I don't know enough, I need to learn more. All of a sudden you're dead, and the body, the doer, hasn't been used on this planet. The only reason that you're here on this planet in this body is to do something with your body, please. You have to create a balance between these two areas. All hooey, no dooey is not good. That's from where I'm sitting. Very personal.
Frank and Yoshi, when we met a couple of weeks ago, you talked a little bit around the learning and connection that you developed just by having your hands in the soil over a long period of time. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that too?
All right. Charlie.
Yeah.
Take off your shoes.
Easy.
You can follow me. You can take, yeah.
Oh, yes, you got to feel the
So, Murray's explaining that getting your hands dirty is quite important. Getting your hands dirty from childhood onwards is quite important. It does a number of different things. It creates skill, and it creates a direct relationship with Mother Earth. Dirty nails and putting them in your mouth is actually challenging your immune system and making it stronger. That's the material part of it. You know what this is?
Rubber?
Yeah, it's a synthetic material. It's electrically neutral. It insulates. Yep. What I've just done now is I opened the circuit between the soil and my feet. But the reality is, it goes in here and it goes out there. So I've now reconnected with the cosmic, because the cosmic forces will come down. but they're not reaching the soil. We are the conductors of life. So the no, keep it.
Does the same thing happen in water?
Similar things happen with water. Yes, you need flowing water. So
Not a swimming pool.
so anything that helps aid to make things move is a healthy way, because the definition of life, another definition of life is actually change or dynamic. Yeah, and just by me wearing shoes, I shut down certain dynamics, and they're pretty essential ones. And over time, it shifts the balance in your body, and the weakest link will force you to go to the doctor, and you get a diagnosis from the doctor, and then what you get is a pill based on petrol, but you don't have a deficiency that's going to be solved by a pill based on petrol. You have, yeah.
But so what I was going to say to it more on a practical level is also by being disconnected with your feet and your hands in the soil, and by eating food that was created in the soil, both animal and vegetable, has given us what's the word? Has given us confidence and trust in what we're doing, and not being afraid of making mistakes. So over the 30 years, I think what I have learned most, because someone asked why all the way to New Zealand from the Netherlands, and why Bodeven is called Bodeven, that's because of a movie we watched, Captain Fantastic, and it's about this American film in the living in wilderness, having a issue with the parents. Kind of, I had that too. I needed to break, and Frank had that too. We needed to break from our parents and their way to create our own ways. And if we would have done it in the Netherlands or even in Europe, we would not have felt that confidence to do it. And here in New Zealand we did. And that's, I think, why we love New Zealand also so much, because it doesn't matter what you wear today, or if you are in a bad mood or a good mood, or how your hair is looking today. Everyone can just feel proud of themselves on the inside, and just follow their heart. And that's kind of what we have been able to do here, is and I think we were, well, I was going to say we were lucky finding each other, but I think we were more soulmates. We have, over the last 30 years, there have been lots of ups and downs, and we could have easily thrown in the towel and walk away from all of this, because it's not always easy, and it's not always what people expect us to do in society. But by just being connected to that land, and my trust in life and plants has grown so much, from just seeing it as a vegetable or something you eat and need to grow within 12 weeks, from a seed to a grown plant, to just how beautiful nature is in providing us all, and how resilient it is. The first year we planted the olive tree, so we bought this land not to grow vegetables for 150 families. We bought this land because we wanted to create a Mediterranean feeling. We wanted to feel the heat. So we chose olives. The first business plan is just olives everywhere, that we were going to export to Europe. And then kind of over a couple of years we saw, why would we export olives to anywhere in the world if they're growing lots of olives there already? Why would we ship it from A to B and then come back again? And so then we had herbs in there as well, because in the beginning the trees are small. It's just, yeah, it just has given us so much trust in nature. And then also it comes back to our family, and how we, when we are ill, are not straight away running to the shop, or either for if the olive, we were part of the olive association in the beginning, and they would come here and they would see yellow leaves and they would say, oh, you need to spray this and that because it's got peacock spot. And you need to irrigate and all those kind of things. And we said, okay, we're going to stop being a member of this association because we don't want to be filled with fear. We just want to learn from the plants and treat it in a natural way. And so this journey has mainly been a learning journey. And we didn't become millionaires or been able to go back to the Netherlands a lot, but it's brought our family. We have started with 2 of us, and now we have our own community of with the little child is kind of the ice cream on the cherry on top for that. So
And it's so obvious now that we see that little chap. We raised our children with the 2 of us, without grandparents and anything. And we made that choice. We made that choice consciously. And I have no regret. But I see now that with the little child and how he responds to the situation, that actually you need a community to raise the soil, but you also need a community to raise your children. You really do. And it would be really nice if that community had the lived the respect for life and nature, and that so good examples this makes good followers. Thank you for listening.